Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Psychonaut Sessions. This is your host, Daniel Muller, and it's your home for all things psycho. And today we're going to take a little look at Atomic City Tales by Jay Stevens. I kind of missed this in the 90s. It was in the peak of my collecting when I used to collect comics weekly. Somehow this was never picked up. I think I remember seeing it around, and I don't really recall seeing it on the racks, but maybe in other magazines like Wizard magazine or whatnot. In fact, we'll talk about that in just a second. But when I saw this, I thought it was actually another book of Mike Allred, who does Madman. Also, I thought maybe it was like at one point a Hernandez Brothers book, because it's very, very similar in style, and skill wise. So I thought it was like an offshoot of one of those books, but Jay Stevens is something completely different and altogether. So this is Atomic City Tales #1 from Kitchen Sink Comics. I'm going to put some links in the description to a couple of Palmer's Picks. So Palmer's Picks was a segment in Wizard magazine that always highlighted different alternative interesting books, things that were, more versed to the mainstream. So I love Palmer's Picks. I am fortunate enough to have been a part of some recent Palmer's Picks publications in the new Wizard magazine by Cosmic Line Productions, and have been published alongside Tom Palmer Jr. in his works. He still runs a blog, and a lot of it is kind of highlighting and going through some of the old articles that he wrote back in the day in the 90s and early 2000s. Jay Stevens is one of only three artists or creators that Tom Palmer highlighted more than once in Wizard magazine. Once when Atomic City Tales was first coming out, before Kitchen Sink, and then after Kitchen Sink, he went to Kitchen Sink Comics and started over Atomic City. Again, I didn't know anything about this book. I saw it in a dollar bin, and I thought I would pick it up just to give it a shot, and I absolutely loved it. So Jay Stevens started out doing Sin Comics. That was the title. I think it was kind of more of like an anthology, just weird, interesting, experimental comics with a lot of anthropomorphic animals and stuff as well. And he actually, after doing Atomic City Tales, went on and had a career in animation. He did Tottenstein, which was a Discovery Kids animated series that was actually Emmy nominated. He worked on Cartoon Network Secret Saturdays, and also working on Kablam with Nickelodeon. And right now, I think he has a book called Dwellings, but from Simon and Schuster, that is kind of an adult take on the old Harvey comics like Casper and stuff. So it's like in that style, but it's more of an adult oriented book. Looks really great. Very what am I trying to say? Not necessarily prolific, but just has a wide array. He can do a little bit of everything. He seems to be able to be skilled enough to pinpoint a style and go after that style. Whereas most artists, really just have one distinct style. It would make sense that in this era of the 90s, mid 90s, he would have gone after this style because of the Hernandez brothers, because of Mike Allred, and that look and feel was very much the kind of alternative feel to comics at that time, because the mainstream was all grit and gritty. It was all, extreme line work, guns, etc. So let's dive in a little bit. Um, so the previous series of Atomic City, I didn't know anything about this reading it. So you're going in um, just as I am. But it centers around this character called Big Bang. Now, this is like a parody of superhero comics. This isn't like this isn't a superhero comic. And this character, Big Bang, has the ability to kind of bend reality. And I guess a bunch of stuff happened in the first one. He had a team of people established around him. And now he's off hopping dimensions, and this team of people are just kind of sitting here in Atomic City, hanging out. And that's kind of it. So what's interesting, so here are the people, they're chilling. You can see, if you're familiar with the Hernandez brothers and Mike Allred's work, you can kind of see some of the similarities and what they were going for. And the main character is actually Jay himself. So he made himself a character in the book. And a lot of them are just kind of sitting around. They don't know what to do with their lives, it seems. And they're just chatting. Now, I just kind of want to talk about the feel of this. I'm not going to go through the story. First of all, I love artwork that is simple enough that all you got to do is just add a mild tone to it, and it still has so much volume to it. So Jay Stevens obviously knows what he's doing when he's laying down a line, when he's setting up composition, because it's really not that easy to do. I've done plenty of work where I try to just lay down a simple tone, and it still doesn't look right. It looks lazy, but he pulls it off because he's, obviously a master. Yeah, okay, let's move on. So they're sitting, they're chatting. Really not a whole lot going on. This is Big Bang, and they're talking about how he's kind of off hopping dimensions. They're really trying to figure out what to do with themselves. And really kind of making fun of really the whole superhero trope. I've always liked the aspect of superhero comics where they're not fighting and going through all this like crazy action, but they are just sitting around and just living life. And that's exactly what they're doing in this book. So anyway, he's tired of Jay, the main character and author, creator, and whatnot, decides to leave. He's bored. And he says right there, superheroes can be so boring. And takes off, and Atomic City is obviously some kind of weird futuristic sort of, superhero type city. And he's walking around, and there's just some really interesting choices here. And the way things are laid out in each panel. I mean, even, the primary focal point of this is the lettering. And a little bit of the lamp, and just the top scuff of his hair. Yeah, I mean, if Rob Liefeld or somebody else is doing this, I would say that's kind of lazy. But he makes it work in a skillful way. Another just kind of interesting panel. So you just kind of get the sense that he doesn't quite really know what's going on. And so he gets a robot dispatch to take him someplace. I forget where he's going. It's really not that important to the story. He gets into this like little module and starts flying away. By the way, I think that's a really cool like robot vehicle. And it's literally just him in this like little flying ball. And then he comes across this woman who is obviously a giant, takes a baseball bat to him, shatters it, and carts him off. So she shrinks down to regular size and kidnaps him. Her name was obviously DiMaggio. So he's being kidnapped. You're not really sure what for yet, what's going on. They're treating him fairly well. They're not like doing anything horrible to him. Calling him Comic Boy. There's a fresh set of clothes and a shower in a room that they got for him. Apparently, he peed himself. So that was the subject of conversation. And he goes and he changes into clothes and realizes, oh, hey, I have a signal device for Big Bang. So he's kind of like this Jimmy Olsen kind of character. Like Jimmy Olsen could signal Superman with like a decoder watch thing. So anyway, they're treating him well, and then he gets encountered by this villain called Doc Phantom. And I love this. He's just like a floating computer with a head on top. Just like the stylization of this is incredible. And they kidnapped this cartoonist, the cartoonist of this book, because Doc Phantom, he's like the lead villain, and he's going to be throwing a party. And he throws a supervillain party every single year. And it's like the bee's knees. And he wants the cartoonist to basically document it with sketches, like just to draw sketches of the event. And he's like, I won't do it. You can't make me. And he basically just says, you know, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be, way more exciting than, because he was bored earlier. So he's just kind of convincing him that this party is like no other event, and there's going to be all kinds of stuff happening. So he's like, okay, I'll do it. And that's it. So then we get to the party, and he starts meeting all of these different types of characters. Some of them might be kind of riffs of actual superheroes. Some of them are just kind of made up and, a lot of fun. There's obviously like antithesis characters to, the heroes. This is weird. This boy who's like some kind of aqua character who says that he's got this like invulnerable glass now shielding the water that he's contained in, and this gorilla guy hits it and immediately breaks it, and everybody's just like ha 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 ha. I mean, so you get the sense there's just a lot of crazy fun stuff happening, and he just is encountering different characters. So ultimately what goes on in the book is the Doc Phantom character, he holds an award event, like the worst villain of the year, and he always happens to win every single year, and the other villains hate that, and that's kind of what's been happening here, is the other villains are trying to kind of conspire against him. Again, this is all just zany parody stuff. None of this is like serious. And so Doc Phantom, coordinates it so that he wins every single year, and he gets attacked by, at the last minute, both of them do. Doc Phantom and our guy gets attacked by this ape dude who has a soul dispatcher, a weapon that can destroy them forever. And that's the end of the first issue. And then we get this sense that Big Bang is coming back out of the dimensional whatever. He's hopping dimensions or whatever, and can tell that his sidekick, whatever, his like best friend Jay Stevens has been kidnapped, and it's time to go rescue him. So that's really it. There wasn't really a whole lot, and there was this kind of like weird back matter thing that was painted and kind of fun and interesting. Looks like this could be early computer printing, but this was like 94. I don't think computer printing was that, or computer coloring was that. Yeah, 96. It really was that not sophisticated. I bet these tones were kind of done by hand as well. For sure. But yeah, very interesting, a lot of fun. I actually just really dug it. It wasn't very long, unfortunately, so that was like the only. It just felt like it was so quick. It felt like it was. I mean, I read it in 5 minutes. It's taking longer to talk about this than I did when I read it, but I loved it. Where's Jay Stevens been my whole life? I want to go out and find more of these. So, um, yeah, anytime I see any Atomic City Tales, I'll be picking them up. So check out Jay Stevens, check out his work. Pretty fun little era of the 90s where alternative comics were really starting to carve a niche for themselves. Check out the links that I have to not only Jay Stevens's Simon and Schuster stuff, but also the Palmer's picks. Check those out, and everybody stay safe out there. Keep it psycho.